Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about Vivek Ramaswamy. I want to talk about the number one story in America right now, which is Hasan Minhaj and truth, and what Vivek Ramaswamy should do about Hasan Minhaj's admission that he lied in his stand-up comedy. And what's really interesting here, so what we're going to talk about today is what constitutes a lie today, right? Like, what constitutes a lie in what constitutes a lie in America today? And Vivek Ramaswamy specifically is positioned to define it, right? So one, why Vivek Ramaswamy? Why does he need to get involved in this? Well, first of all, it's the scope of the job he's applying for, right? Vivek Ramaswamy right now is applying to be the 2024 U.S. president, right? And that means king of the world. That's the real that's the emotional truth. We're going to talk about emotional truth at some point. Probably not in this video. We'll get there. All right. But today, but he is applying to be literally the leader of the world. And make no mistake, President of America is the leader of the world. You know how I know that? Because I talk about American politics all the time, but half my comments from people who are not in America and should not care one iota about who the American president is, but do, because it completely affects their lives. It powerfully affects their lives. And frankly, who gets elected as the president of America is far more important than whoever the prime minister or whatever title you want to call in some other foreign nation is. The U.S. president has more power in every country in the world than the leaders of those countries, with the exception of probably 10 countries in the world. But I would say, I think there's about 190 countries in the world right now, and I think 10 countries have their own leaders. And then the American president runs America and makes all, pretty much by proxy, those other leaders are simply making the decisions that the American president already said, right? So, leader of the world is quite literal in my humble opinion, right? So, he has the stake to fix honesty in America. We have this huge problem in America brought on by our last president, which was Donald Trump. And he took a sledgehammer to honesty in America. And what he did was he said, hey, look, everybody, I'm the U.S. president, and I lie through my teeth constantly. And everybody just took it and ran with it. And moms stopped saying, hey, be like the president, right? Because they're like, oh, that president is a vile monster human. You can't be like him, right? So, and now the role of president is synonymous with liar, right? Because that's what President Donald Trump did for 4 years. He just lied through his teeth constantly, right? So Vivek Ramaswamy is coming, and this is what leaders do. Leaders fix problems they don't own, right? Because they need to be fixed, not because because the leaders fix problems they don't own because the problem needs to be fixed, and it doesn't matter. And a finger-pointing party doesn't help, right? Leaders step in and they simply fix the problem. Vivek Ramaswamy can fix the problem of American honesty by making sure that Hasan Minhaj receives adequate punishment for the cultural attack he did on America with his stand-up special, which he got paid tens of millions of dollars from Netflix to do. This is why Hasan Minhaj needs to go dark. He needs to not have any of his content aired on big or small screen for the entirety of 2024. That is an adequate punishment. And if Vivek Ramaswamy makes sure that punishment is stated, executed, then it fixes the problem of honesty in America. It fixes the problem of no accountability for American celebrities in America. It also fixes the problem of what is the period and what is the punishment for a genuinely deserved cancellation. And Hasan Minhaj is the perfect person to do this to because he verified that he lied, right? It doesn't, if some, mainstream news organization come down and say, this person lied, nobody cares, right? But when you come out and you say, I did lie and I'm sorry, then you're saying, I deserve to be canceled. What is the cancellation box? What is the punishment and how long does it last? And Vivek Ramaswamy can solve every single one of these problems in one fell swoop. And also say, America, trust and believe, being a candidate for president requires and deserves power to punish, right? And I think this cultural attack that Hasan Minhaj did on America deserves punishment. And Hasan and Vivek Ramaswamy can define that punishment and make sure it's put into place. So let's talk about Hasan Minhaj, what he did and why and how what he did became a cultural attack, and how it also teaches us what honesty is today, because it has changed in 2023. All right. So this is really important and cannot be ignored, because there were 3 issues that the New Yorker article accused Hasan Minhaj and he addressed all of them. And what's interesting is there's an explanation of how American honesty has legitimately changed, and how the social contract of American citizens with American leadership has changed. Let's get into it. And Hollywood celebrities has changed. Okay. All right. So first of all, Hasan Minhaj says, okay, you accuse me of 3 things. You accuse me of lying about the prom. You accuse me of lying about having my head slammed on a car door by a law enforcement agent, right? And then you accuse me of lying about a mysterious powder showing up at my house, okay? Now what's interesting is Vivek Ramaswamy, in link below, you could see his the video I'm talking about, his confession, right, in the link below, okay? Hasan Minhaj's material that I'm talking about, okay? Because that's what really made this. This is the perfect template to do this with. It is just teed up, right? Like a golf ball on a tee, and Vivek Ramaswamy has the club. This is perfect, right? And a lot of times it's murky, right? Like, and that's why this Vivek Ramaswamy has to do this with Hasan Minhaj, because there's a moment of time right here. There's an opportunity right here where multiple American problems can be massively fixed, right? If we take the time to do it. All right, so here we go. All right. So Hasan Minhaj, about the prom, he said, listen, I said that her family gave me a hard time about prom because I was a person of color, right? And he's like, but I changed the names to protect the innocent, right? And we're like, oh yeah, of course, right? So here, he's not telling us truth. He's telling us false names. That's fully accepted. That is fully accepted, right? That's accepted among American citizens with friends. You tell a story, you're like, hey, I'm going to change the names to protect the innocent, right? You don't even have to say it, right? Like, you're like, if it's an embarrassing story, you're just like, hey, my friend, right? Or even Bob Smith, whatever you want to say, you can protect the name to protect the innocent. We do that in movies. We do that on podcasts. It's accepted. It's part of the social contract. Fine. Now, here's the next part that's interesting. And this is the part that's new. He said, every event that I told in this prom story happened, but they happened in a different order, right? And you're like, is that a lie? Here's the new answer. In 2023, it is not. You can tell a story. You can change the names to protect the innocent. You can rearrange the events that happened to you, right? So if there's 3 events, A, B, and C, you can tell the story C, B, and A, right? Now, why is this? Well, it's true crime podcasts. We have been listening to true crime podcasts, and true crime podcasts do this all the time. They're like, everything we're going to tell you is true, but we're going to tell you in a different sequence, right? And the reason why is, if we tell you in this sequence, right, it's not dramatic. But if we tell you in this sequence, it's dramatic, right? And so this is part of the new social contract. If you want to tell a story, and by the way, stories are truth containers, right? Tales are fiction, right? I think that we need to start distinguishing that. From now on, we cannot allow the word story to mean true or false. Story is truth container, right? Tale is a fiction container, right? I'm going to tell you a tale of a fateful ship. It started on the rocky shore aboard this tiny ship, right? 3-hour tour, right? So here's the issue. You can tell events that happen to you, and you could choose the order. You could tell them in any order you want. We don't care. Tell them in whatever order you want. We don't care. Okay? That's new. In the old days, you're like, if you told events out of order, that was considered a lie. That has changed. Okay? Now, what's interesting? Okay, so what about those other 2? What about the, Hasan Minhaj saying my head was slammed on a car door, on a car hood by a law enforcement agent. Did that happen to Hasan Minhaj? No. Did it happen to somebody else? Yes. And that's a lie, right? You cannot take an event that happened to somebody else and say it happened to you. That is a lie, right? You cannot do that, right? And the same thing with the mysterious powder, right? He said, "Oh, this powder was X," right? It wasn't X. It was just a mysterious powder. He lied, right? So and the other thing is, if you say something that didn't happen, you cannot say something that didn't happened to you, and you cannot say that something that happened to someone else happened to you. Those are lies, okay? But something has changed. We have agreed as Americans that you do not need to use real names when you tell stories, right? We can get the gist of the truth, and we don't need the names because we don't want to dox people, right? Okay? We've made a social contract. And the new social contract, based on true crime podcasts, and this is my entire point, right? Political speech, political action, right? True crime podcasts have changed the shape of truth in America. And we now say, hey, if these events if A, B, and C all happen to you, you could tell them any way you want. You could do it BCA, you could do it ACB, right? You could do CAB. We don't care the order. Still truth, right? You could change the sequence of events. You cannot take an event that did not happen to you and claim it happened to you. And you cannot take an event that did not happen and say that it did. That's lying, right? And I think Vivek Ramaswamy needs to get in and say, listen carefully. Hasan Minhaj just went on a lying tour. He went all over this country. He told lies by his own admission, right? All over this country with a brick wall and a microphone, and he sold it for tens of millions. And this cannot be allowed in America. And this is the punishment. 1 year dark. 1 year dark. Your face does not appear on a big or small screen anywhere in America, right? And every project you have is shut down, right? And that's that. Nobody sees you on the big screen. Actually, you know what? You can keep working in that year, right? But nothing. Your face does not appear on a big or small screen for 1 year. And then you get to come back. You get to attempt to come back. You might not be able to come back, right? 1 year of Hasan Minhaj not being seen, that might be enough to end his career. And that's okay. That is okay. He lied to millions of Americans, went to their hometowns, picked up a microphone and lied to their faces, right? And then he packaged it and he sold it. That is a cultural attack on America, and that needs to be punished, right? And Vivek Ramaswamy is positioned to define that punishment and execute that punishment. And that displays power, and it also gives us answers to 100 questions Americans are asking. Every single word of that is my humble opinion. What's important is when I get to hear your humble opinion. When you get in the comments and send your traffic, please consider subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.